Aloha Sunday, we barely made it through Saturday. Breakfast with Bob, oh yeah.
Pancho, man, bringing it home. Thank you, Pancho. Kick it off. Championship Sunday. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by EAS Sports Nutrition, Hoka One One, Polar, Osca Wellness, Velo Fix. We are here at the beautiful Four Seasons Hualalai, and we are airing on triathlonworld.com. Our next guest, a six-time Ironman world champion, the former course record holder in the run. I thought I'd start with that.
Yeah, get it out on the table, huh?
I love that. Mark Allen. So a record was 27 years or something like that. That record from 1989, 240, and went down yesterday, 239.
It did. You know, I was out there with NBC, and we were we were going out to the energy lab,
Yeah.
and I saw everybody running, and there was this guy in these brilliant, bright shoes flying, just flying, and I thought, this guy is in another universe. And he went into the energy lab and came out, and the amount of time that he made up, I said to myself, he must have missed a turnaround, because he just made up so much time on everybody else. And I had, this is interesting, because I woke up yesterday morning, Saturday morning, race morning, and I thought, somebody's going to break that record this year. I just had, I had this feeling, and I'm like, that'll be a good thing, because
it really is.
I've held that record, the fastest marathon split, for 27 years. It came out of obviously one of the greatest races that we've ever had here, but it's time, and it will show other guys, that will be an example that you need to reset the bar in your mind of what you're going to need to be able to do to win this race, to be at the top. It couldn't have gone to a nicer guy. He came across the line, and he was just ecstatic, first of all, that he ended up in third.
Yeah.
And then when he found out that he broke the record, the marathon record, I thought he was going to have a breakdown there. The guy came up to me, Patrick, he apologized for breaking the record. I mean, talk about class and a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy.
The legacy of the sport is built on great performances, and anytime somebody sets a new standard, it elevates all of us. It elevates the entire sport. And to go sub 240, that's like one of those barriers that was broken.
It's like when Roger Bannister went under 4, then all of a sudden a bunch of people did, right? Or when we had the wheelchair guys trying to make the cutoff time. All of a sudden, the following year, Carlos Molado went, 10:55 or something. So all it takes is somebody to go under. I know both of you have been saying for years, if we ran 240 and 241 and 89, these guys should be able to run sub 240.
Yeah. Well, 240 is going to be the old 250.
Exactly. Before now, next is going to be 234, right? Someone's going to be running sub 230 to the low mid 230s before you know it.
And we got Mirinda Carfrey's knocking the door at 250 with her marathon split from a couple years ago. So we have to up the game here for the men, and I think they did it yesterday. Not only with Patrick's performance, but Jan Frodeno, wow. I mean, I'm hoarse today, yelling for him, and also, Daniela Reef. Unbelievable.
So when you watched Jan and Sebi running side by side down Elite Drive, it must have brought back some memories.
I thought, is this going to be the second coming of
a
side-by-side race for 8 hours? They took off out of the transition area with a cadence and a pacing and a speed that looked like they were doing
10K?
10K, an Olympic distance event, not an Ironman. And then I heard that they were running side by side, running at this amazing clip, talking.
They were talking. I'm like, what the heck? Because you and Dave weren't talking.
No, we didn't have a lot to say. But then of course, Jan just sort of put the pressure on, and he's so steady in his pacing. And I think that's one of his secrets, is that he doesn't blast anywhere on the course, but you apply that slow pressure over time. It's kind of like how you create a diamond, or how water wears down a mountain range. And he's kind of like that with his competition, with his steadiness. He mentioned to me that he didn't have that extra gear to close a lot of the gaps on the bike. The other guys were doing that when things were opening and moving, but he's just so steady. And the one thing that he mentioned last year that really stuck with me all year is he said, I know how to get ready for one specific race that's going to happen on one particular day.
Yeah.
He showed it in the Olympics in Beijing when he won the gold. He showed it last year when he won Ironman here. He showed it again this year. He knows how to do that.
When you look back with him and he talks about winning the gold, every workout he did finished with a sprint, right? Because he knew it's the Olympics. It's going to come down to a sprint finish. And that's how he won the gold medal, because he planned for it. He was ready for it. Then the moment wasn't too big for him. When you see someone like that.
He's not here yet, but you have to ask him. So then does that mean that was every one of your races, your workouts getting ready for the run here? Did you finish it with a marathon, huh? Come on, tell us.
little different. When you look at a race like this, when you have competition that takes a sport to another level, now you have 3 Germans, and back in the day, I mean, '97 we had Thomas Hellriegel and Jürgen Zack and Lothar Leder, and your era, you had Wolfgang Dietrich. The Germans are now dominating, obviously, at the longer distance. Do you have any sense why?
I actually had a chance to catch up with Thomas Hellriegel after the race,
Yeah.
and I said, "Okay, what's
going on?
What are you guys doing over there? Because
Yeah.
this is amazing that, 4 of the top 5 were Germans, and I think there would have been a heck of a lot more had there not been just the way the dynamic of the race pans out." He said, "It's all up here." He said everybody does basically the same training, but he said, "You have to understand, in Germany, we in the wintertime, we have to go inside. It's not pleasant to train. We have this period where we really don't do much because the weather's terrible. So when we do train, which is what we have to do, we're either riding on an indoor trainer or we're out in this incredibly challenging weather." He said that just makes you tough mentally. And he said the other thing is we do have a period where we kind of shut it down, and then later in the winter, early spring, then we go to the warmer places in Europe to train, and all of a sudden, he said, we're like a cactus who's been dormant in the winter. We flower. He said that's very different than like you have a cactus that's in the sun all year round. It doesn't flower because it doesn't have that time to just draw its energy in. It's a very interesting perspective, and you think about it recently, let's take Australia, for example. You can train there year round. There's no shutdown time.
Same with Southern California, same with Arizona.
How many Australians were in the top 5? I didn't see any this year.
No,
Obviously, Craig Alexander, Greg Welsh, it can happen. But it's just an interesting perspective between how you cycle through your year and also the toughness you build within yourself when you have this very challenging environment to deal with during part of the season.
So you also coached Timothy O'Donnell, right? Last year he was 3rd on the podium. This year 6th. But he was consistent all day long. He ran a 2:55, and so much of this race. And I talked to him a little bit afterwards. He said he had a couple of bad miles. A bad mile, a bad patch. All of a sudden, with the field being so deep, right? If there's 3-4 guys there, you could have a bad patch.
Right.
With this field, you have a bad patch, you lose 5 places in a heartbeat.
Yeah, it was so deep all the way through the end of the bike, and then all the way through the marathon. Usually, you have these epic blow-ups from people who go too hard on the bike. That didn't happen in the top 10 this year.
No.
And Tim was, he was 5th last year. He was 6th this year. We thought he was ready for a different kind of performance yesterday. He still did his best time ever.
He hit 16, right?
Yeah, and it just shows you how deep the men's field has become and how competitive and close it has become.
So, what he went? 8th, 5th, 3rd, and now 6th. I mean, that's so 4 top 10s is pretty impressive.
And, the thing that really impressed me yesterday with Tim is that he had 2 very tough moments on the marathon where he lost 3 or 4 minutes all in 1 mile to the guy ahead of him. You normally don't come back from that, and he came back from that. Those are usually the points where you lose the time, and next thing you know, you're walking.
Right.
He came back. He was running. He finished 6th. It just shows that he has that toughness that it takes to be great at Ironman here in Hawaii. It's such a complex race to get right. Jan, again, did it twice in 2 years. Just an amazing athlete, an amazing guy.
Yeah.
The only German I know that has the perfect Australian accent.
Repeating at this race, Dave obviously did it. Paula did it. You did it. 5 in a row, and then a year off, and another one. More pressure when you come back, or do you feel almost that everybody sort of, okay, Mark's going to win. We better figure out second, third, fourth, fifth. Was it an advantage coming in as defending champion, or was it an obligation?
It's a plus and a minus. The plus is that you know how to do it. You've figured it out. The minus is that you can't repeat what you did the last time. You still have to re-figure it out each time. There is more pressure because you are expected to win. Second place is not as great as Patrick Lang, third place, over the moon. You know, so people would look at it almost like, geez, oh, you got second place. Well,
good try.
You'd really tried. You know, the other part of it that makes it difficult to repeat here is that if you win the Ironman, I mean, really, this is one of the biggest events, if not the biggest event. It is the biggest single-day sporting event, especially in endurance athletics. You have obligations that nobody else has throughout the year with interviews with athletes, with sponsors. Sure. You have less of your own time, which makes it very difficult to get those blocks where you focus. And a lot of guys don't get that. They win it once, and all of a sudden, there's all these other obligations, and all of a sudden the next year they can't do it. Peter Reed had a very challenging time with that in his career. He admitted it was hard for him to come back and repeat year after year. He won it 3 times, but they weren't consecutive.
Yeah. The other thing that's interesting is Jan Frodeno. He's at the finish line. He wins. He's excited. And then you talk to him, and he's like, "I almost dropped out a couple times. Right? I was having what I thought was a crap day," and I was like, "What? You just won this thing for the second year in a row." But as somebody who's been out there, where you're thinking, "I'm not having a good day," even though you go on to win the race, do you face moments like that where you're thinking, "I might not finish today"?
Absolutely. You know, I try to impart that. That's a great wisdom for anybody doing this race. Try not to judge it based on what's going on in the moment. You will only know what kind of a race you had when it's done, and you can look back and go, wow. You know, that classic example, 1995, my final Ironman, I'd won 5. I was coming back hoping to win 6. I came off the bike 13 and a half minutes behind Thomas Hellriegel. And in that moment when I came off the bike, I thought, this is the worst Ironman I've had my entire life. But then I made it through all those tough moments, passed him, went on to win number 6. And when I look back, I realized that was the greatest race I ever put together, because it was so difficult, because there were so many moments when I wanted to just quit and throw in the towel. Jan experienced those yesterday. If you judge it in those moments, you think, yeah, I am having the worst Ironman in my career. You look back, he's going to look back and go, this was one of the greatest races I've ever put together.
Because I basically I had the demons that I was facing, and I got past them.
Yeah, he won. You know, the greatest victories will never be seen, and those are the ones where you have a victory over that lesser part of yourself that indeed would want to give up, to quit, to back off, and say, I can't do it. That will never show up on the cameras.
No,
Jan knows those moments. People commented. They said, you know, we were watching the live feed yesterday. He looked like he was just at ease the entire day. They're going to hear a completely different story when they hear that he was ready to throw in the towel a number of times. But that's the essence of sport. That's the essence of the sport, and the essence of what makes Ironman so great.
I love that. So we did the contest last Monday for people to go online and figure out what the heck. So fill us in.
Okay, about 6 months ago, I started working with a gentleman, Scott Zagarino. He has a Scott Zagarino agency. He's helping me retell a lot of the stories from my career, because he feels like the legacy of a sport is something that should be retold, so that people who are aspiring to do triathlon or who are coming to Ironman, they can kind of get caught in the draft of all that has gone on before them. And one day he emailed me these numbers, 1/6/21 Infinity. He said, what is this? I looked at it and I had no idea. I thought, is it the date of something, you know, the apocalypse? I don't know. Yeah. He goes, this is your resume. First ever ITU Olympic distance world champion. Right. 6-time Ironman world champion. A 21 race winning streak from the end of 1988 through 1990, where you won 21 races straight
in a row. I
at
remember.
all distances, from Olympic distance, half Ironman, full Ironman distance, even a duathlon in there. Infinity, the greatest endurance athlete of all time, as voted by ESPN in a worldwide poll. And he said, I'm not sending you these to sort of toot your own horn. He said, this is one great part of the legacy of of the sport of triathlon that maybe some people have forgotten, and I think they'll remember it when they see this. Legacy of a sport is not built by one athlete.
Right.
It's not built by one particular race finish. 1989, Dave Scott and I, that was great. That's not the only legacy in our sport. It's Dave Scott's 6 Ironman wins. It's Natasha Bodman's 6 Ironman wins. It's Paula
collapsing
Newby
and coming back the
Frazier.
following year.
Yeah, Paula Newby Frazier, 8 Ironman wins, doing a time when she set her best time. That world record held for 17 years.
Yeah.
People don't know that. Yesterday, Patrick Lang going for the first time in the history of Ironman Hawaii, sub 240 on the marathon, finishing 3rd place. That's part of that has become the legacy.
Absolutely.
Jan Frodeno, an Olympic gold medalist in Beijing, now a 2-time Ironman champion, finishing in the 3rd fastest time ever on this course.
Yep.
Daniela Reef, blowing away anything that any other woman has done out here with her finish time, 8:46. She has people shaking their heads, going, "That is so beyond." Chrissy Wellington, when she won here, had everybody thinking she's unbeatable and that will never be matched. That was blown away yesterday with Daniela's time. This altogether helps create the legacy of our sport, and it's not just what those of us have done who have finished first.
Right.
It's the thousands of people who have done Ironman Hawaii every year that have created the legacy of the sport. It's the people who finish at midnight. It's the people all around the world who have completed Ironman distance races, half Ironman distance races. It's the sum total of what we have all done. The legacy of a sport is like the soul of the sport. It's the measure by which we gauge our involvement with it. And this is just one part of it, a part that I'm proud of, a part that I'm excited that I can continue to share with people. And hopefully with what I've done, Dave, Paula, Natasha, Greg Welsh, what you have done, my friend, to help build the legacy of this sport will be something that just inspires people to go out there and to try to do something that maybe they
thought they couldn't do.
They thought they couldn't do, that will help them to become better people, that will teach them lessons about their own life, that will enrich them forever, that will inspire others to get off the couch, and maybe they're not going to do an Ironman, but heck, I'm going to go walk a 5K, and all of a sudden the world is a better place just because we're just trying to do something to become better ourselves.
So did anybody get it?
I looked 2 days ago. We had one guy who actually guessed it. I'm going to have to go through all of the answers. There were so many people that were close. This is what really threw them, the infinity.
Yeah.
And that's because it really went outside of sports. In that poll, ESPN was trying to figure out who is the greatest athlete of all time. They had different categories: boxing, baseball, greatest game changer. They had, and then the category that I was in was greatest endurance athlete of all time. I was up against a number of people, probably the best known, Diana Nyad, who was the only person to swim from Cuba to the United States, the world record holder in the marathon, the first woman to win the Badwater ultramarathon. It was just a true honor because to even have my name in the top 5 greatest endurance athletes of all time, and then to be voted that, what it really showed me is that people are, I think that, the only people that really look at triathlon are those who have a power meter and a heart rate monitor, right? It showed me that it's so wrong. People are looking at what we do in this sport, and they through that poll, it just affirmed and acknowledged to me that people are saying, wow, what you guys do is really incredible, and we want to honor that by saying what you did personally was something that went beyond anything that we can compare in endurance and athletics. I was humbled by that.
Love that.
I was just humbled by that, and I still am.
Grip Man, always a pleasure to have you on. We had another great race, and nobody better to talk about it than the 6-time Ironman world champion, Mr. Mark Allen, Poncho Man. Take us out.
Yeah.
It's Aloha Sunday. Woo. We barely made it through Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
It's breakfast with Bob and brother Mark Allen.
Woo. Yeah.